Well, certainly quite a very turning moment between South Africa and Palestine, as we know that the country has been very steadfast in its support for the Palestinian cause. So this is yet another international campaign to galvanize support for the Palestinians, as the convention is still underway, where also the Palestinians are drawing inspiration from the legacy of the late former South African and the founding father of South Africa, Nelson Mandela. Joining us now is Chief Mandela. Thank you so much indeed for your time, Chief. By all accounts, a very significant moment as the Palestinians are looking at ways, just like how Nelson Mandela made sure that apartheid was defeated in this country.
Well, for us, it is really an honor to be able to host this conference together with our friends in the global campaign to return to Palestine, which I'm an ambassador of. As the Royal House of Mandela, tomorrow with many South Africans and the global community will be commemorating the 10-year passing of President Nelson Mandela. And thus we felt it is a good tribute to ensure that we champion the causes that he stood for. And as you would know, that Palestine was one of those issues that he held close to his heart. He regarded the Palestinian struggle as the greatest moral issue of our time. And therefore, we want to ensure that when we commemorate him, we draw on his own experiences and his own legacy and how we can be able to shape the Palestinian struggle. So we've had many testimonies from the Palestinians about their plight and their struggle. Yet we have also seen South Africans participating and sharing their own experiences about the struggle for liberation against one of the most oppressive and brutal military apartheid state on the African continent. So we have therefore been able to capture this, and in doing so we will be producing a conference resolutions that clearly outline what the Palestinians want us to do in taking their struggle forward. And this has been really a great achievement to host over 72 countries in South Africa, with all Palestinians in the diaspora participating from all factions and from all civil society.
And just once again, Chief Mandela, we've seen the growing calls for a permanent ceasefire, especially because over the couple of weeks or so, we saw the humanitarian truce. There was a bit of glimmer of hope. But suddenly again, we're seeing, the bombardment starting all over again, whether in southern parts of Gaza, whether in the northern part of Gaza. What would be your appeal to the Israeli authorities so that they see that, the civilians are really suffering as the war intensifies?
Well, the reality is that apartheid Zionist state of Israel has no intention of a ceasefire. They are clearly set on exterminating the Palestinian people and usurping their land. And therefore, they will not stop at anything until they attain that. For us as activists on the ground is to see what are the models that we can be able to utilize in order to push back. You have seen through the Palestinian resistance that they have chosen to resist, just as we were able to, during the armed struggle, to also resist and fight the apartheid regime. And therefore, we continue to say to them as the Palestinian resistance to come together, have joint operations, and ensure that they are able to resist and defend their land. But also, that the struggle for liberation is waged on many fronts. And therefore, we are calling on civil society to boycott, divest, and have sanctions against the apartheid state of Israel. This worked immensely for us. And we also need to utilize the many Palestinians in the diaspora diaspora, where we have over 6 million of them in the diaspora. Our own South Africans in exile became our ambassadors and were our voice internationally for our struggle for liberation. And therefore, we want to ensure that we activate those Palestinians, and they must be their voice, which you have already seen as the media, that every video that we are seeing coming out of Gaza and all over occupied Palestine is actually now received by them, and they are sending it right across the globe. And this is why you are seeing an overwhelming support for the Palestinian struggle. And we will continue to mobilize, as we have been, right across our countries, our regions, and our continents.
It's bound to be a very interesting day. Quite a number of events planned, really, to remember the legacy of the late former President Nelson Mandela, especially because they made it very clear that South Africa's freedom is incomplete as long as Palestinians are still oppressed. Khayelihle, Khumalo, SABC News, Johannesburg.